The kitchen was quiet, the kind of quiet that clings to walls and settles in your spine. The fluorescent under-cabinet lights hummed faintly over the granite countertop, where a half-finished glass of orange juice sat beside a blue construction paper folder titled Family Values in bright, messy crayon. The edges were bent from the backpack ride home. It was a fourth-grade assignment. His youngest, Sam, had explained it in a rush before running off to find scissors, and the instructions were simple. Interview both parents about what values matter most in their family and make a scrapbook. Values. The word had a weight to it now. She was in the shower upstairs. The sound of water filtered faintly through the ceiling, rhythmic and indifferent. He should have been making dinner, or sorting the mail, or replying to that email from his boss, but instead he was standing in the kitchen, staring at a drawing of a stick family under a sun with a smiley face, and something in that simplicity made his jaw clench. The sun shouldn't have had a smile. Not today. He picked up the folder without really thinking and flipped through it. Most of the pages were empty, just placeholders. But one had already been filled in. Sam had done it himself before the interviews. My dad always tells me to tell the truth even when it's hard. He says lies are like mold, they grow when it's dark. He remembered saying that. Maybe last year, when Sam got caught hiding a bad grade. He traced the edge of the page with a finger, slow and deliberate. The next page was blank except for a sticky note Sam must have left. Ask Mom, what is love? The handwriting was crooked, the question innocent. What is love? He set the paper down carefully, but his hand didn't move away. That's when he noticed it. Near the edge of the countertop, under the bowl of apples, something was sticking out, barely visible. A sliver of paper. He pulled it free slowly, like unearthing a photograph from a time capsule. It was a receipt, folded twice. He didn't need to read it. He knew the logo in the top left corner. Chiffon, an upscale boutique downtown. The kind of place she hated. She'd once called it pretentious, overpriced nonsense for people who mistake vanity for taste. That exact phrase. He remembered it because she'd said it the last time he offered to buy her something there, for anniversaries ago. But the receipt was from 2 days ago. A silk scarf, pale gray. One size. $230. Not a gift bag. No card. No occasion. She hadn't mentioned it. Not even offhand. He unfolded the rest of it. The cashier's name was in fine print. Logan. The timestamp was 11:42 a.m. on a Tuesday. She would have been at work. Or said she was. He held the receipt in both hands, staring at the numbers like they were coordinates on a map he didn't recognize. A quiet click sounded above him. The water had stopped. Footsteps padded softly across hardwood. The upstairs creaked faintly as she moved through it. He placed the receipt back under the apple bowl with care, as if preserving a crime scene, and turned to the fridge, pretending to search for dinner ideas. A few seconds later, she came down the stairs wrapped in her usual towel, hair wet, eyes calm, maybe a little too calm. She smiled at him, the kind of smile that had worked on him for over a decade, but now it landed wrong, like a piano key slightly out of tune, off by just enough to make you wince. Hey, she said, brushing damp strands of hair off her shoulder. Did Sam finish that project thing? He nodded once, his hand still in the fridge. She crossed the kitchen, kissed him on the cheek, and opened a drawer to grab a pen. He caught a whiff of her shampoo, lavender, and mint. It didn't mask it. Underneath was something else. Something floral but not hers. It was faint. Fainter than the receipt. But it was there. She jotted something on a sticky note and stuck it to the folder. Remind me to do my part tonight. I told Sam I'd write something about compassion or empathy or... I don't know. Whatever sounds good. She laughed lightly, the way people do when they know they're lying but can't quite admit it to themselves yet. He said nothing. Just closed the fridge door slowly, deliberately, as if it were glass. She didn't notice his silence. Or maybe she did and didn't care. Either way, she left the kitchen humming, towel brushing against her knees as she disappeared down the hall. He remained still, staring at the family values folder again. Then, almost without thinking, he picked it up, opened to the empty page with Sam's sticky note. Ask Mom, what is love? And wrote in the corner with her pen, just a whisper of ink. Ask her who she bought the scarf for. Then he slid the note back where it had been and walked away. Not a sound. Not a word. Just that single fracture widening beneath his feet. The mornings were the hardest to fake. Sunlight creeping through the slats of the blinds, the smell of coffee drifting in from the kitchen, the faint sound of her footsteps upstairs, everything looked right. They even ate breakfast together. She smiled when she poured his mug, called him babe, like she used to, and kissed the top of his head in that automatic, practiced way. But it was like watching a movie he'd seen too many times. The same lines, the same gestures, just with someone else behind her eyes. She'd started using phrases like emotional independence and space to grow when they'd talk, if you could call it talking. He'd ask if she wanted to go hiking like they used to, or maybe take a weekend trip, just the two of them. Her replies were polite refusals, dipped in soft optimism. I think we both need to rediscover who we are outside of routines, she'd say, tucking her hair behind her ear like that made it profound. But she never said we when it really counted. Just I. I've been journaling more. I've been setting new goals. I've been thinking about changing my job. He was never in the plan. Just another habit she was slowly shedding. At first, it was easy to rationalize. Life gets busy. People grow. That's what the books say. That's what therapists say. That's what he told himself. But then she started locking her phone, not just the usual swipe pattern, but a new biometric lock with facial ID. He noticed one night when she left it on the couch and he picked it up absent-mindedly. The screen blinked red with a cold white message, access denied. He set it back without a word. Later, she picked it up and tucked it into her pocket with an offhand, thanks, I keep forgetting it's there. She didn't forget other things, though, things she shouldn't. Like his sister's birthday dinner. Like the name of his boss, whom she'd met twice. Like how he took his coffee in the morning, something she'd done for 8 years without mistake. Now she added sugar. He hadn't taken sugar in 3 years. Even her laughter had changed. There was this new version of it, light and distant, that she saved for her phone. A breathy half-laugh that never left her mouth, just stayed in her throat like a secret. He'd hear it from the other room, muffled by the closed door of her home office. She said she was doing freelance consulting now, trying to reclaim autonomy. Another phrase she'd picked up somewhere. He didn't ask for details anymore. She didn't offer them. One night, they were sitting on the couch, her legs tucked under her, scrolling her phone while pretending to watch the show he'd picked. He glanced over and saw the screen's reflection in her wine glass, just long enough to see a message bubble pop up. Still on for Friday? No name. Just that. Her finger tapped quickly. The bubble disappeared. She caught him watching her and smiled like she hadn't seen him in hours. What's wrong? She asked, voice syrupy with concern. Nothing, he said. And it was true. Nothing new. Anyway. The next day, he told himself he was being paranoid. So he let it slide. Again. But that night he couldn't sleep. The air in the bedroom felt heavier than usual, like it knew things he didn't. At 2:13 a.m., he got up and walked downstairs barefoot. The house creaked like it was trying to warn him. He didn't plan to check her car. He was just getting water, he told himself. But his feet led him outside anyway. Her keys were still in her purse, hanging on the hook by the door. He took them like they were evidence and walked out into the chilled night. The driveway was bathed in orange light from the street lamp. Her car sat there, still warm from the engine cooling off. He opened the door, slid into the driver's seat, and sat there for a moment, just breathing. Then he opened the glove box. Inside, napkins, a spare charger, a crumpled Target receipt, and a hotel key card. One of those thin, white generic ones. No name on it. No logo. Just blank plastic. His breath stalled in his chest. He picked it up slowly, like it might burn him. There was a faint smudge of lip gloss along the edge. He held it in his palm for what felt like an hour. Waiting. For what? He didn't know. An alarm to go off. A camera to flash. Something. But nothing happened. No answers. Just this cheap rectangle of silence that said everything and nothing at the same time. He placed it back where he found it. Closed the glove box. Locked the door. Walked back inside and returned her keys to her purse. She was still asleep when he came back up. One arm across the pillow where he used to sleep before he started staying on the couch. She looked peaceful, like someone who had nothing to hide. He stood there in the dark, watching her breathe. Not angry. Not heartbroken. Not yet. Just done. From that point forward, he didn't ask questions. He didn't try to fix anything. He just watched. And when she laughed into her phone behind a closed door, he listened. When she forgot what his favorite breakfast was, he cooked it himself. When she looked at him and smiled with empty eyes, he smiled back. Because now, he wasn't hoping to be wrong. He was waiting to be right. It happened on a Tuesday, in the late afternoon stillness that settled over the house like dust. He had come home early, not out of suspicion, not to catch her in anything, but because Sam had left his lunchbox in the back seat again, and there was a leftover yogurt tube starting to smell. He'd walked into the kitchen with it dangling between 2 fingers, nose wrinkled, only to pause at the strange silence. She always played music in the afternoons when she worked from home, soft acoustic playlists or those mindless chill-hop loops she said helped her focus. But today, nothing. Just the tick of the wall clock and the refrigerator's faint hum. He dropped the lunchbox in the sink and called her name once. No answer. He started upstairs, the floorboards complaining under his weight. As he reached the bedroom, he heard the soft clack of her keyboard, rhythmic and composed, like she was writing an email or working on a project. But when he pushed the door open without knocking, something he used to do all the time, she flinched and quickly clicked something closed on her laptop. Her face didn't change, but her body did. She tucked one leg under the other too fast, shifted in her chair like someone smoothing out a wrinkle they hoped no one saw. "Hey," she said, too bright, too soon, already pulling off her headphones. "Didn't hear you come in." He nodded, said he forgot something, and let his eyes flick to the screen. Blank. Just the desktop. He didn't ask what she'd been doing. Didn't press. Just smiled. She relaxed. "Want coffee?" she asked. "Almost done up here." He told her he'd make it, left the room, and went straight to the family computer in the office, the old one they barely use now, the one still connected to the printer, the one synced to the home cloud drive by default. She had forgotten that once. He hadn't. He opened the shared folder and clicked through recent documents. Most were benign: grocery lists, Sam's school project drafts, invoices from her side gigs. But one caught his eye. A PDF, freshly updated this morning. The title was simple: Letter to Myself. He clicked it. It wasn't a letter. It was a journal. And it was still open from her last edit. The text was there, bold and recent. "I feel like I'm living two lives," it began. "One for them, and one for me. It's exhausting pretending I still want the life I built with him. He's not a bad man, but he's not awake. He doesn't see me. He hasn't in years. The truth is, I feel more alive when I'm away from this house. I've stopped pretending the affair will stop. It won't. And honestly, I don't want it to. I just want the kids to be older first. It's too messy now. Too soon. I just need a little more time." He stared at the screen, not moving, not blinking. Each sentence tightened something inside him with methodical precision. There it was. Not a slip. Not a text out of context. A confession. Typed in her voice. Logged in her account. Saved to the drive that sat silently connected to everything they owned. He didn't feel rage. He didn't feel grief. He felt something cleaner, more dangerous, a kind of mechanical stillness that settles over a surgeon before the first cut. He printed the page without hesitation, folded it in half, and slid it under a cookbook in the kitchen. Not to confront. Not yet. He just wanted to know where it was. Then he checked her planner, the physical one she left on the counter when she pretended to organize their life. He flipped to the coming weekend. A red circle around Saturday. A heart. No label. No explanation. But at the bottom corner, scrawled in hurried script, were 4 letters. TSFW. It meant nothing to him. Until he remembered the magnet calendar on the fridge, the one Sam used to track his school events. The same letters were there, written in a different color. Trip starts Friday, weekend away. That's what she'd told Sam. A solo creative retreat. A personal reset. But now he saw it for what it was. An alibi. An escape. A countdown. He stared at it for a long time, feeling the last of the illusions bleed out of him like a slow puncture. She was going to lie to their son's face and vanish for a weekend with another man. Not because she had to. Because she'd rather. That was the break. Not the act. The ease of it. The effortlessness. That was what shifted something in him. Something final. He didn't speak to her that evening. He made dinner. Cleaned up. Helped Sam with his science notes. He smiled when she joked about watching something together. Said maybe tomorrow. And that night, while she read in bed with her back to him, he lay awake and planned. Not revenge. Not theatrics. Just steps. Movements. Quiet things. Strategic. Precise. Like removing weight from a sinking boat without making waves. Like preparing for war while the enemy sleeps inches away, still dreaming she hasn't been seen. It happened in the living room, on a Sunday afternoon meant for quiet. Sam was upstairs, earbuds in, working on the same school project she'd promised to help with, but somehow forgot, again. He stood by the window, arms crossed, watching her bustle around with a fake energy she always pulled out when she felt cornered. She'd just returned from her creative retreat, hair still damp from a hotel shower, phone clutched like a lifeline. He didn't say anything right away, just watched her. She noticed the silence and offered a bright, brittle smile. You're quiet, she said. Everything okay? He nodded once, slow, then asked, almost too casually, how was your solo trip? She blinked. Productive, she said, setting her bag down. Exactly what I needed. Time to reset. Her voice had that polished calm she used when lying, like she thought if she spoke softly enough it would feel like truth. He took a step forward. Must have been. You logged out of everything. No calls. No FaceTime with Sam. Not even a photo. She laughed lightly, brushing it off. That's the point, right? Disconnection. He reached into his pocket, unfolded a single sheet of paper, and placed it gently on the coffee table between them. She stared at it. Her face didn't change, not yet. What's that? She asked. Something you wrote, he said. Before the weekend. She didn't move. Didn't touch the page. You went through my things, she said, raising an eyebrow. That's pretty controlling. He gave a dry laugh. Right? Because that's what this is about. Me controlling you. Her eyes narrowed, calculating. So what? You're mad because I needed space? Because I did something for myself for once. He leaned forward slightly. That's not space. That's premeditated betrayal. You told Sam you were going to a wellness retreat. You lied to our son. You put a heart around it on the calendar like it was some kind of self-care vacation. But you were screwing someone else while your kid thought you were meditating in the woods. Her jaw tightened, but she still tried to keep the tone light, dismissive. You don't understand what it's been like, living in this house, in this routine, being invisible. I've been drowning, and you've just functioned like nothing was wrong. Because I trusted you, he said, louder now, but still deadly calm. Because I thought we were building something worth preserving. Meanwhile, you were drafting essays about how you've outgrown the life we built, like it was a phase you were hoping would end. She crossed her arms. Don't act like this is all my fault. You've been distant too. You think just showing up and paying bills makes you some kind of hero? You haven't touched me in months. He tilted his head. You think I didn't want to? You think I didn't feel the difference? You started smiling at your phone like it held secrets. Started talking in slogans you picked up from podcasts about authenticity and boundaries, but you never included me in that growth. You were planning a life without me while sleeping in my bed. So what? She snapped. You're perfect now? You get to sit there with your sad little paper and judge me. No, he said. I'm not perfect, but I'm not dishonest. I never made our son part of my lies. I never turned marriage into a waiting room until someone better came along. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Her shoulders twitched like she wanted to scream or cry or run, but couldn't decide which. He's going to find out eventually, he said, voice dropping to a whisper. He's going to ask why you weren't there that weekend. And you'll either lie to him again, or you'll tell him the truth. And either way, you lose him. Because children don't forget who held the match when the house burned down. Don't you dare bring him into this, she hissed, the mask finally cracking. He's a child. He doesn't need to know everything. No, he said, stepping back, arms crossed again. But he'll know enough. He already sees the way you check out during dinner. The way you laugh at things on your phone and say you're just stressed. Kids aren't blind. They're just kind. Until they're not. Her eyes were glassy now, her voice thinner. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. Yes, you did, he said. You meant every step. You wrote it down. You gave yourself a deadline. You bought time with kindness and filled it with betrayal. She sat down, slowly, like her legs wouldn't hold. I was lost. No, he said, staring down at her. You were selfish. And now you're surprised that the mirror finally reflected something you can't explain away. She looked up at him, tears beginning to fall, but he didn't move. Didn't offer comfort. Just watched, cold and still. That was the final blow. Because she realized then, this wasn't a fight. This was her reckoning. And the man she thought she could spin had stopped listening. All that was left was her, alone, in the ruin she built with a smile. She followed him into the kitchen like a shadow that had just realized it wasn't tethered to anything anymore. The paper still lying on the coffee table behind them like a grave marker, her breath coming in shallow bursts. He didn't look back. Just rinsed a plate that didn't need rinsing, the faucet whispering over ceramic while she stood a few feet away, vibrating with panic under her skin. You're overreacting, she said, voice high, desperate to reclaim footing that no longer existed. People make mistakes. You think I planned this? You think I woke up and decided to blow up my life? He turned off the water, dried the plate, still didn't speak. She took a step closer. We can fix this. We have a child. We've built a whole life together. That doesn't just go away because of one chapter. Her voice cracked at the word. Chapter. Like it was fiction. Like it could be edited. He finally looked at her. Not with anger. With pity. That was worse. You rewrote the whole book, he said softly. You just didn't think I'd turn the page. She blinked fast. Okay. Fine. You want me to say it? I messed up. I lost track of who I was. You never noticed. You were always so busy being the reliable one. The steady one. I felt invisible. He nodded slowly. So you made sure I disappeared. Bit by bit. While smiling in my face and calling it growth. She frowned, her hands trembling. You're not so perfect either. You shut down. You stopped being romantic. You started sleeping on the couch like I wasn't worth the effort. No, he replied calmly. I started sleeping on the couch when I realized my presence in the bed made no difference to you. You didn't miss me. You missed the version of me who didn't notice. She flinched. You'll never find someone who loves you like I did, she said, and it almost sounded like a threat. You think someone else will love you through all your silences? Your routine? Your boring stability? He stepped closer, not menacing, not loud, just certain. I'd rather be alone than loved by someone who weaponized my steadiness as an excuse to lie. You didn't want stability. You wanted permission, and you thought I was too comfortable to notice. She wiped her cheek. I was lonely, she whispered. I didn't feel seen. So you made sure to be seen by someone else, he answered. Not once. Not accidentally. You wrote about it. You protected it. You made it a ritual. And now you want to do over because I finally read the part where I die in your version of the story. Her lips trembled. What about Sam? She asked. You're going to tear this family apart over one mistake. You already tore it apart, he said, eyes sharp but calm. You just wanted me to keep vacuuming around the cracks. She shook her head violently, voice rising. You're being cruel. You're doing this to punish me. No, he said. This isn't punishment. This is consequence. And the difference is, I didn't choose it. You did. The room was dead quiet now. Even the dog had wandered off, as if it too could sense the oxygen thinning. She stepped forward, reached for his hand, like muscle memory could override reality. Please, she whispered. We can still come back from this. He let her fingers hover, then turned away. I'm already back, he said. You're the one still chasing the lie. She folded in on herself then, shoulders caving, tears coming freely now. The ugly kind. The kind that stripped the dignity from a face. But no one was around to save her. Not her excuses. Not her tone. Not her charm. She was unraveling. And he watched. Just watched. Because that was all he had ever done. Given her space. Trusted her words. Believed in the image she kept polishing. But now, she stood in the ruins of it. And he didn't lift a finger to stop the collapse. Not out of malice. Out of mercy. For himself. For their son. And maybe, in some small corner of her unraveling, for her too. Because nothing kills a lie faster than silence. And has said everything. She showed up 2 months later, thinner than he remembered, as if consequence had been chewing through her from the inside out. The makeup was there, but it didn't fit her face anymore. It looked like war paint on someone who'd already surrendered. Her hair wasn't done the way she used to do it when she wanted attention, and her clothes, once curated with surgical precision, now hung on her like borrowed fabric. She didn't knock the way she used to. She hovered, unsure, as if the front step might reject her before he could. When he opened the door, she tried to smile, but her lips faltered midway, like they forgot how to form anything other than apology. Her voice cracked when she said his name. No, hey. No pleasantries, just the syllables that once meant something but now sat between them like dust. He waited, calm, detached, not angry, not curious, just still. She started, and then the tears came fast, clumsy, uninvited. I don't know who I am anymore. I've lost everything. My job, they let me go a week after. Said it was about restructuring, but I know it wasn't. Word gets around. No one from the team talks to me. Jenna blocked me. Even my sister won't answer my calls. My mom said she needed time. Can you believe that? My mother. She laughed thin, bitter and broken, and looked up like she was expecting him to laugh with her, like maybe some part of their old rhythm would kick in. He didn't blink. He left too, she added. The guy? He said I wasn't who he thought I was. Can you believe that? After all the promises? After everything she wiped at her face, smeared mascara and streaks down her cheeks. I don't sleep. I barely eat. I keep thinking about that day in the kitchen. The way you looked at me. Like I was nothing. Like I was already gone. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I can't live in that silence anymore. Please. I still love you. I never stopped. I made a mistake. He held up a hand then. Not to silence her out of cruelty, but to give her a kindness she didn't deserve. The mercy of finality. You didn't make a mistake, he said quietly. You made a choice. Repeatedly. You lied to our son. You gave your honesty to someone else. And now you want me to save you from the consequences you spent a year writing. Her mouth opened. Closed. He watched the words die before they were born. We were soulmates, she choked out. No, he replied. We were familiar. That's not the same thing. She shook her head, desperation returning like a tide. Please just talk to me. Please don't look at me like this. He studied her then, as a man studies the final page of a story that once made him feel something, but no longer does. And in that moment, it wasn't hate he felt, or hurt. It was nothing. She wasn't the woman who'd betrayed him. She wasn't the woman who'd shared his bed, his son, his future. She was just someone who used to be in the photos. A stranger with a voice he used to recognize. I hope you find what you're looking for, he said simply. Then he closed the door. No slam. No drama. Just the quiet sound of a chapter ending for good. Inside, Sam was laughing at something in the living room, unaware of the ghost that had just tried to claw its way back in. And that was the real ending. Not revenge, not ruin, but irrelevance. She had burned every bridge until there was nothing left to walk across. And now, even her name was just a footnote. Thanks for listening. Let me know where you're watching from, and what you would have done if it were your wife.